Can we separate art from its artist? And in doing so, should we boycott art by problematic people?
Artists are not always the best people.
A work of art is only what an artist says. If there is no artist, there is only silence.
But what do we do when a great artist ends up being an awful person?
When an artist's morals come into question, we the consumers also face a dilemma. Do we go? Do we not go?
Effect changes according to who is speaking. There is no statement without the person making it. There is no art without the artist.
The answer to this question is simple. Art and artist have never been separate.
If you've been online in the past decade, you probably already know who Melanie Martinez is. She's the kind of artist who built an entire career out of blending innocence with darkness, mixing childhood symbols with adult themes in a way that feels equal parts creative and disturbing. She's been making concept albums since her debut, and each one is more ambitious than the last. But here's the thing, Melanie isn't just known for her music. In 2017, she was accused of by a former friend. She denied the allegations, but ever since then, her name has been tied to this cloud of controversy. And that's where the problem begins, because here's the question people have been arguing about for years. Can you actually separate the art from the artist? Or in Melanie's case, do you even want to? Because on one hand, her music is undeniably creative and unique. On the other hand, though, we could not ignore the fact that she's been accused of some very serious things. And that's why this isn't just a video about Melanie Martinez, it's about the bigger question of whether good art excuses a bad person, or if that's just us trying to justify our Spotify playlists. Hello everybody, it's Nessi by the way. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. It really means the world to me. This has been my dream since forever, and now I'm actually kind of doing it, so thank you so much. That's all I wanted to say, so let's just get into the video. Before we even get into the drama, let's be honest, Melanie Martinez's music is good, like really good. She doesn't just release an album and call it a day, she creates entire universes. When Crybaby dropped in 2015, it wasn't just another pop album, it was basically a horror movie wrapped in cotton candy. Every track was told from the perspective of this character, Crybaby, who looked like a doll but sang about neglect, addiction, you know, lighthearted stuff. The production was playful and toy-like, but the lyrics were uncomfortably raw. It was honestly genius because it forced us to hold two completely opposite feelings at once.
Take childhood themes and relate it to adult situations. Every single title is like some sort of, thing relating to childhood. And then the actual core of the song, the dark, gooey chocolate ganache middle of the cake, as I like to call it, is honest and adult story or situation.
The Crybaby character became an icon, fans dressed like her, tattooed her lyrics, and suddenly Melanie had established something most new artists can only dream of, a cult following. She wasn't just making music, she was basically building a mythology. Then in 2019, she leveled up with K-12. And when I say leveled up, I mean she literally made a feature-length movie to go with it. Hi, it's Editing Nessi. It's K through 12. I don't know why I said K-12, and I'm gonna continue saying K-12, so sorry about that. It's K through 12. The songs didn't just exist, they told a cohesive story with visuals, costumes, characters, and an actual plotline. Even if you didn't care about the movie, the album itself held up with tracks like and The Principle, which balanced catchy production with commentary on fame, power, and corruption. And then in 2023 came Portals. In this album, she basically reinvented herself once again. Gone was Crybaby. Instead, Melanie introduced us to this pink alien fairy creature with 4 eyes and mushroom ears. Yeah, I know, that sounds insane, but somehow it worked.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for growing with me on this journey.
The whole album was about life, death, reincarnation, and spirituality, yet it was still digestible enough for TikTok edits. It's almost impressive how she can take the most bizarre concepts and make them feel mainstream. What's wild is that each album feels like its own universe, but still undeniably Melanie. You always know when you're listening to one of her songs. The production is playful yet unsettling, her voice is insanely recognizable, and the concepts tie everything together like a dark children's storybook. So whether or not you're a fan, you can't deny that Melanie Martinez is a creative force. She's the type of artist who doesn't just release music, she curates an entire experience. And that's exactly why the dilemma hits harder, because the better the art, the harder it is to let go of the artist. So here's where things get messy. In December 2017, Melanie Martinez, former best friend musician Timothy Heller, posted a long statement on Twitter accusing Melanie of Heller described a night where the two were hanging out, and according to her, Melanie repeatedly pushed for while Heller kept saying no. Eventually, Heller claims she gave in out of exhaustion, not consent. This hit the internet like a grenade. Remember, this was peak #MeToo era. Harvey Weinstein had just been exposed, Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., and a long list of celebrities were being called out, so when Heller's post dropped, the climate was primed for people to take accusations seriously. Almost immediately, Twitter was divided into 2 groups. On one side, people said, "This is serious, I can't support her music anymore." They pointed out that Heller had nothing to gain and everything to lose by speaking up, which made her story even more credible. On the other side, you had fans rushing to Melanie's defense, saying these are just accusations, where's the proof? They argued that Heller waited until after Melanie blew up to tell her story, which depending on how you look at it, either made sense emotionally or seemed suspicious. Melanie eventually responded with a statement on Twitter. She said she was quote-unquote horrified and saddened by the accusations and insisted that what happened between her and Heller was consensual. She emphasized that Heller was her best friend at the time and she would never intentionally hurt her. For fans, the situation was disorienting. Melanie wasn't just some random pop girl. She had built her entire brand on giving a voice to the people who felt powerless. Crybaby was basically an album about trauma. Her songs tackled things like neglect and exploitation. So when someone she knew personally accused her of ignoring consent, it wasn't just a personal scandal, it felt like a betrayal of her whole artistic message.
I'm calling for Melanie Martinez to acknowledge her lack of accountability when it comes to her fan base, as well as properly handling her allegations.
And of course, the media amplified everything. Hashtags like Melanie Martinez is over party trended for weeks. For moments, it seemed like her career was over, and yet it wasn't. Because unlike other celebrities who vanished after accusations, Melanie went quiet for a bit but eventually returned. And here's the wild part, she didn't just bounce back, she came back strong. By 2019, she had released K12 and fans filled concert halls. Her cult following never really left, and new fans discovered her music through TikTok and YouTube, but the allegations never fully disappeared. For some, the allegations alone were enough to walk away. For others, the lack of official evidence meant they felt justified in staying fans, and that's what makes Melanie's situation so complicated. With some celebrities, the facts are crystal clear. You know exactly what happened, and you decide whether you can live with supporting them. And spoiler alert, that's exactly what leads us into the heart of the dilemma. Now, here's the thing, the phrase separate the art from the artist gets thrown around a lot online, and on paper it sounds great, like sure, love the song, ignore the person behind it, easy. But when it comes to Melanie Martinez, it's not that simple. Why? Because her art is basically an extension of herself. Unlike artists who just write hits for radio, Melanie doesn't really do detached. Every project she's put out has been a carefully crafted universe that ties directly back to her identity. Take Crybaby for example, it wasn't just an album of bops, it was Melanie literally inserting herself into a character that mirrored her own struggles. The Crybaby persona was a doll-like version of herself, dealing with heartbreak, neglect, all wrapped up in a dark children's storybook aesthetic. It's creative, but it's also deeply personal. You cannot listen to Crybaby without thinking about the person who created it, because the whole thing is basically her trauma reframed as a fairy tale. Same with K12, it wasn't just about school, it was about control, exploitation, and power dynamics. Melanie positioned herself as this all-seeing narrator who critiques systems of authority while still waving in autobiographical elements, and because she starred in the accompanying movie, her face and her story were literally the centerpiece of the art. Then Portals came along and she reinvented herself as this creature who's exploring reincarnation and the afterlife. That sounds completely different from her previous albums. It sounds a bit detached, right? Except it's not, because the whole concept was basically Melanie saying goodbye to Crybaby, a character that had defined her, and stepping into her next phase as an artist and as a person. So even in disguise, she was still telling her own story. So when people say just separate the art from the artist, it's not that easy, because with Melanie, the art and the artist are so intertwined that separating them feels almost impossible. You can't fully buy into Crybaby or the K12 universe or Portals without acknowledging Melanie as the architect behind it. The shadow of the artist is baked into the work whether you like it or not, and that's the problem fans run into with Melanie. The art is too personal, too branded, and too tied to her identity to cleanly detach, which leaves people stuck, because if you can't separate the art from the artist, then your options are either to embrace both or reject both, and neither choice feels satisfying. So here's where we land. The Melanie Martinez dilemma doesn't have a neat answer because it was never really about Melanie alone. It's about how we as fans deal with the messy reality that the people who create the art we love are, at the end of the day, still people. Flawed, complicated, sometimes disappointing people. In Melanie's case, the tension is sharper because her art is so deeply personal. You're not just listening to a pop song, you're stepping into her mind, which means the question isn't just can I separate the art from the artist, it's do I even want to? Some people choose to keep listening, others walk away completely, and honestly, both choices are valid. At the end of the day, art doesn't exist in a vacuum, and as much as we would love for it to be simple, just vibes, no baggage, the truth is that every song, every lyric, every performance carries a piece of the person who made it. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for staying till the end. If you're listening to this, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And of course, as always, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love reading your comments. That's my favorite part. So can you still enjoy Melanie's music, or do the allegations make it impossible to listen without second guessing? Let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely curious to see where people stand on this. And let me know if you like this style of editing. Let me know if you want me to change something. I don't know, honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going with the flow. So let me know if I'm doing something wrong or if you want to see something different. I love constructive criticism. Please keep it constructive. Some people are just mean, but I usually take advice. So if you want me to change something, let me know in the comments. And with that being said, thank you for being here, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. And then in 2023 came portals. Oh goodness gracious.